Susan, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's topic is ProStitcher software for long arm quilters. I've included a free PDF on today's topic in the description below for you to download. So let's get started.
We are working today in the ProStitcher simulator. If you don't happen to have this, it is a free download at ProStitcher.com and works on all PC computers. You will also need a USB that came with your ProStitcher that has all the designs on it because the simulator does not have the designs installed. You can load these designs directly to your PC or work from the USB stick. It's your choice. The ProStitcher simulator is almost identical to the ProStitcher program that is installed on the tablet. You have all your options across on the ribbon. You have your tabs, of course, going from left to right in working the program. We're going to start with File and Design. Go to Open. And I wanted to show you that if you wanted to load additional designs to this program, you can work from any of the hard drives or USB drives that are available to you at your PC. There are over 3,500 designs that come installed. Now this is all on the USB stick. If you have not loaded it to your hard drive, you will have to use the USB that comes with the program and access the designs there. Now the different colored backgrounds pertain to the different formats, and there are 8 different formats. By clicking off a particular format, you have eliminated that from your choice of options. So you can see where you can search by file type. We're going to start with blocks this morning. You also have continuous lines, backgrounds, borders, all kinds of wonderful designs in here, and you can load your own. But I'm looking for a particular design that goes into all 4 corners. And that design right there will show you a couple of fun things about the program. Now, if you don't want to use this design, you have another one. Of course, you are more than welcome to choose whichever design you want. Now, since I don't have a head obviously attached to my computer, my mouse becomes my cursor or my needle position. Now, your long arm or ProStitcher software works very similar to an embroidery machine. It has no idea where you want to place your design on your quilt in this case. So we have to mark out the individual area or identify the area where we would like to position the block on our quilt. You now want to go to the Area tab and select the 2-corner option. Drag your needle position to the lower right corner somewhere, whatever size you determine, and click the 2-corner again. This sets your perimeter for your block. We don't have the fabric to reference. We're playing on the machine. Now we want to go to modify the design so that it fits into the area we've created or designated. I could resize the design if I wanted to, but it's a little complicated and take a while. Let's make it quick and easy and use the skew option. They've given us a couple of options for this feature. One is plain skew for this and border skew. We'll get to border skew in a minute, but when you have a perfectly square box, your standard skew will work fine. You can see where the points fit all into all the corners. We're now ready to stitch our design. And we're going to go through just the basics so you can see how this option works. You want to make sure you have the quilt tab selected. Now I have selected the same functions that I use on my machine here at the house in my studio. You also have a run icon in the bottom left corner. When you click on this, it's going to bring up a Verify Settings dialog box and allows you to double check your settings before you actually start to do your quilting. Gives you your stitch length and so forth. Go ahead and click Proceed, and the machine will, in this case simulator, move to the center, pull up the threads, go through the same part of the programming. Just click Proceed. And we don't have any thread to cut, but that's okay. And it's going to go ahead and do the stitching or simulate the stitching. Now I've programmed mine to stop in order for me to clip the tails. And I'll show you where that is in a minute. But I wanted to show you how this actually goes through the design, stitches it through, and notice it turns it yellow as it completes part of the stitching. I'm going to click on the pause icon down here to simulate a thread break. What I want to show you is do not click on the stop icon. That will cancel everything out. If you hit the pause or the resume is what you want to do when you're stitching your designs. That way you won't lose your reference point. And our design is complete. One tip I'd like to give you is under your settings tab at the top right, there's the option under the pause delay icon about the center of your ribbon. It affords you the option of taking off the time the machine will stitch before it pauses to the length of stitching. I like to set it at about 2 inches. That means the machine is going to stitch for about 2 inches and then automatically stop so I can cut the tails from my tie-on. This way you don't have to manually stop the machine or pause the machine in its stitching. But what happens if you don't have a perfectly square block? The software does afford you the option of doing multiple points. So I've cleared off my area and I'm now going to select a multi-point. Continue to move my cursor to a new position and click multi-point each time I change a direction. Now it doesn't have to be a large direction and you can use as many points as you want. We're going to stick with 4, but I just want to make it slightly off to show you that if you don't have a perfectly square block, you can still make your design fit perfectly simply by going back to Modify, Skew, and this time we're going to select Border Skew. Border Skew is going to line your sides to the sides, and that way you get a perfectly aligned block. So if your quilt isn't 100% perfectly square, you can still make the blocks fit perfectly and make it appear that it is. You can do as many multi-points into a block or to outline a block or area that you want. So if your block isn't perfectly square, maybe it's got a slight curve to it, or it's a dramatic change, it's an octagon shape, you can go ahead and trace off the entire outline, making it as refined as you want, and the design will match that particular shape. So ProStitcher makes it very easy for you to get a beautiful block, even though it's not a beautiful block. That was a little bit of an extreme block, but let's do one more. Go over to File and Clear All, and go back to your Area tab, and we're going to go ahead and set up to do a slightly different block that I think you're going to like, because you can create your own designs with ProStitcher right at your quilt. We're just going to be doing a basic block. It can be multi-point, it can be two-corner if you desire, but from here I've just got kind of just a block, and we're going to go ahead and click Design. And I'm going to go to do one of my favorite tricks, is how do you put a round peg into a square hole? I'm going to show you and make it really pretty so that you can create your own block. Back into the design under blocks, and we're going to go ahead and pull up one of my favorite designs to do. And there it is. And this is kind of like a starburst effect. And it's a beautiful design when stitched in a circle, but you can also stitch it into a square. This will also give me the opportunity to show a couple of other features with this software, because there is an alignment tool. Now I'm going to click on Select and move my cursor into position, kind of centered over the block, and I'm going to align the center to the center where my cursor is positioned. Now I would also like to resize this design a little bit because I want to get rid of that center hole or opening. Under Resize, I have the option of doing a horizontal or vertical resize, or using the lock and then maintaining the aspect ratio of the design and just reducing all the sides at one time. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now, how do we get this into a square? Let's use the crop option. Under Modify, it's right next to it. And what we can do with this is go ahead and get rid of the stitching around the outside and actually make that round peg fit into the square hole. This time we have the option again of following the outline with the square. I can leave the inside of the design stitched, and if you look here, I've got starts and stops, reds and green dots. Each one of those restarts the machine at another point. That's a lot of messing around with one block. If I add the edges option, I eliminate the starts and stops, so it gives me a completed design. Now we're going to baseline so that the machine remembers that size of the design and the options to it. And we're going to remove the area, and now you can see where it closes off all of those rays and gives me a finished block. So we've made a round peg fit into a square hole. Another block shape that you may run into will be a triangle. We can do the same thing that we've done on the multi-position square, and we're going to make a triangle this time using the multi-point and moving my cursor around to create a triangle. Now this doesn't have to be perfect. That's the nice thing about it. We can make the design fit into any size, shape, or distorted triangle that we happen to have. Go back up to File, Design, and Open. And we're going to choose the triangles. Now there are corners too. If you wanted to do corners, you could do this the same way. But we're going to choose triangles for right now. And I'm going to do the feathered corner or triangle, and it's a beautiful design, but how do you fit that into there? Well, we could do the same thing with resizing it, maintaining the aspect ratio or whatever, and I'm not sure I want to take that amount of time. And the ProStitcher's Genies have given us this wonderful little triangle option that makes it skew directly into our triangle, and it fits beautifully. If I try to do the border skew, nope, that doesn't quite work. Or the standard skew. The triangle skew is a new option. If you don't have this on your ProStitcher, you may want to download your update and get your machine updated. We put a round peg into a square hole. Let's put a square peg into a round hole. Another way to create an area is by using a shape. I'm going to get a block that is nothing more than a circle. And here's my circle design. And we're going to try and put a square peg into a round hole this time. I'm going to go up to Area, and I could select multi-point and trace off the design, but there's also an option called Rubber Band. Rubber Band will automatically, just like a rubber band, copy the shape on your screen. Now I can go and get my square peg. In this case, I'm going to go to File and Design. We're going to select Open, and I'm going to select a block and a background fill, which is a crosshatch. This makes a very interesting block. There's my design, and let's see if we can't get this into position. I'm going to align to center. Remember, when you want to move your cursor, you do need to click on that simulator icon. That's the only difference from actually using the machine. I'm going to move my cursor into the center of my design. I don't want no alignment. I want center alignment. And let's refresh that screen. Okay. And now we want to crop. You can use a background fill either outside of your area with the edges. Otherwise, you've got all those lines going across, and the machine will travel across. It won't stitch. And we want it to the inside. If I don't use the edges, I get the starts and stops at each point. If I turn on the edges, I eliminate those, and the machine continues on to the next design. Now, if I don't happen to have the design in the right position, or I want to reposition it, I can move that around. Simply select the select icon on the far left, and you can drag your design into the position you like for the final stitching. Remember to baseline and remove your area, and your design is finished.
Don't forget to subscribe and click on that charm icon so you'll be reminded when my next video is out.